You're listening to G-Woman Radio, the 24/7 radio for the gifted, genius, and game-changing woman.
Welcome to the G-Spot, powered by G-Woman Radio. The G-Spot is a bold space for genius conversations with global game changers. Each episode of this live radio show brings together thought leaders, innovators, business owners, creators, and change makers for fearless conversations about leadership, legacy, innovation, and global impact. Now welcome your hosts, Alex Okoroji, Frankie Picasso, Swapna Abraham, Clara Rufai, and Mayuri Naidu.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the G-Spot, where genius meets the global game changer. And my name is Alex Okoroji. I'm joined by my powerhouse co-hosts, the co-founders of G-Woman Media. Okay, so I know that Frankie is here, and also Swapna, and Clara Rufai, and Mayuri Naidu. Frankie, are you here?
Yes, I am here. And hello, everybody. Every week, we bring you bold conversations with women shifting culture, challenging systems, and creating new legacies.
Today's episode is all about leading loudly. And we are thrilled to welcome a game changer who is blazing trails in her field.
Yes. Before we bring her on, shout out to some of the amazing women on our G list. Now, the first woman up in the spotlight today is Greta Thunberg. She is the climate crusader. Her role is environmental activist. Now, Greta Thunberg, she sparked a global youth climate movement, pressuring world leaders to act on climate change with her unwavering advocacy and scientific rigor. What makes her a G-woman? Her bold activism and fearless accountability have transformed climate discourse. And one word or one phrase or one quote that reminds me of her is, "You are never too small to make a difference." And the second woman in the spotlight today is Malala Yousafzai. She is the education warrior. Her role is activist and Nobel laureate. Malala survived an assassination attempt, and then she went on to become a global advocate for girls' education, co-founding the Malala Fund to ensure that every girl has access to school and education. So what makes Malala a G-woman is her resilience and her commitment to gender equality in education, which has inspired millions. And what's her favorite quote? "One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world."
Such incredible women to look up to and to be inspired by, Clara. And readers and listeners, if you haven't read our latest Top 50 G-Woman Power List in the Global Issue 2025 edition of G-Woman Magazine, after the show, head on to www.gwomanmagazine.com to read about the amazing, gifted, genius, and game-changing women that are featured.
Yes. Well, just before we bring our very special guest up on the show, we will take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll introduce you to our amazing guest.
Are you looking for a unique gift for baby showers, bedtime songs, fun time songs, and songs that teach lessons? Family road trip songs the whole family will enjoy. Songs that will trigger young imaginations. Nurture and educate your children, but adults will enjoy too? Then choose a Children's Song a Day book. This extraordinary book experience contains 1,000 songs in 5 volumes that will delight children age 4 through 12, along with eye-popping illustrations and lyrics. Each song can be downloaded via a QR code on each page in 2 versions, one with full song, the other for a karaoke experience. Lyrics, melody, and singing are the creation and talent by Dr. Swapna Abraham, who embarked on a 1,000-day journey setting 4 world records in singing songwriting by the Golden Book of World Records. Each song is crafted for children to inspire dreams and explore life's wonders. They're available now on any Amazon near you, so get yours now and start singing.
We're back, and if you're just tuning in wherever you're listening from around the world, this is still the G Spot, and we're excited to be coming to you live from different parts of the world. Just in case you're imagining, all our hosts are in different parts of the world. And today, our guest on the G Spot, we want you to meet this very amazing game changer. Now, Marcy Rogers, since 1994, has launched and successfully operated 3 national companies where she served as president and CEO in the healthcare industry. Now, with more than 30 years experience in developing specialty centers of excellence in niche surgical fields like craniofacial surgery, neurosurgery, orthopedic, interventional pain, and spine, her company, SpineMac Co., is on the forefront of finding and bringing new techniques and technologies and innovative medical solutions to the healthcare sector. Now, Marcy is especially proud of her advocacy in helping children, adults with craniofacial deformities. She founded 2 501c3 nonprofit organizations in craniofacial surgery to create patient, medical, and payer awareness of these conditions, and even organized a reception for affected families hosted by Barbara Bush at the White House for this group. Now, in 1991, Ms. Rogers spearheaded legislation to create a National Craniofacial Awareness Week. Marcy was the recipient of the Frost and Sullivan Award on behalf of her work for customer value enhancements in the field of orthopedic research. Now, we're very excited to have you join us on the show. Welcome, Marcy.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad. It's a real honor to be here with you today.
Oh my God, that was such a bio. You've accomplished so much, and we're just trying to get all of that in to our listeners.
Marcy, hi, it's Frankie here. Can you tell us
Hey,
what
Frank.
was the spark or the aha moment that started your journey?
Well, the spark was actually thanks to Dr. Edgerton, who was one of the early pioneers of being able to take these patients, rearrange the bones on their face, and make these children look less like monsters. And I met Dr. Edgerton, and was just finishing up and working from my program that I had put together in terms of what was I going to do next with my life. And he was so engaging and so passionate about this. He invited me to a clinic to see the children. And I walked into that clinic, and I just had this profound moment of, wow, I don't know what's happened to these children. I don't really understand all the nuances of it, but I do know that this is where I need to be. And that's how it started, really.
That's incredible. I know that people might be wondering what it might look like if they remember the movie The Mask. That was, I think it was back in the 90s, and
Yes.
Cher starred as the mother. You met her on the film set, I believe.
Well, what happened was, after I got really engaged with all of this, I wanted to do something to really make a profound difference for these children because they suffered so much every day in school, on the playground. They looked like monsters, and, the society treated them like that. So I flew out to LA. I was living in Dallas, and I flew out to LA because I found Cher's manager, Bill Sama, and I went to his office, and I said, look, I'm here. I know that you said I didn't have an appointment, but I came anyway. And
That's
I need to talk to Bill. And so the receptionist was like, well, you're going to be waiting a long time. He doesn't want to see you. And I said, well, that's okay. I'll just sit here. And I sat there from 9 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. And his receptionist came out, and she said, well, Bill Samuth that feels bad that you've been here all day, but he wasn't going to see you. And I said, look, I'm not leaving here until he sees me. And that's the only way I got in that door. It was unbelievable. And when I met with him and told him what I was trying to do, he all of a sudden, it was like the lights came on. Wow, she's going to love this. She really, because she loved that movie. And that's really how it started. It was I was going to be obnoxious and just sit there until he agreed to see me. And he ended up agreeing to see me. And that was the beginning of my friendship with Cher.
Gifted game changer. There you go, people. Swatting that you're up to bat.
Thank you, Frankie. Wow, Marcy, it's just amazing. You sound exactly like a woman on a mission, sitting out
Mhm.
there, getting what you wanted to get. And hats off to you. Hats off to you. When we listen to stories like this, and yours definitely is one of a kind, just wondering, and was there any personal barrier? That surely will have been several. I mean, sitting and waiting for something to happen, like the whole day itself is one. But, in your whole entrepreneurial journey, I'm even wondering how old you will have been when you went on this mission and then you had this awakening. But what will have been one of the biggest personalized barriers that you had to overcome, and how? How did you do it?
Well, the biggest personalized barrier when this came into my life was the fact that these poor children had no life. They were ostracized. They were abused by children in school. Just because they were deformed didn't mean that they were retarded or, mentally incompetent. And they were bullied and they were, on the playground, abused. It was just way too sad. And I couldn't tolerate that. I mean, because I got to know these children for quite some time as just beautiful human beings who, okay, didn't look like everybody else, but they had heart, they had dreams, they had passion, and their lives were miserable. I mean, in the school, outside the school, on the playground. And I just wanted to make a difference for them. It was for them, it wasn't for me.
Right, right, Marcy. But did you face any barrier in making this happen? It surely will not have happened easily, right? I'm sure there will have been some kind of something you had to overcome in order to make this happen. Um,
Well, I
was there
had to
any time?
overcome the stigma of
Oh, right,
what people believed they were and how they looked. Everybody
right,
was assuming they were mentally retarded or they
right.
were some aberrant form of human being that they didn't want to be around. Okay? I mean, they
Wow.
would look at them and they would feel like, oh, this is really painful to look at, and what's wrong with these people? And that was the hardest part to overcome, was that
Right.
these were just children. They weren't monsters. They weren't, this didn't happen to them because they did something wrong. This is what they were born with. But inside, they were the same children that children in everyday life were. And I wanted to give them that chance. And so I did whatever I had to make sure that, they got to meet Cher, and they were honored at a reception when I first launched Craniofacial Awareness Week, and the parents were so grateful because they were trying to keep everything good for their children in school. It was a constant battle on the playground, in the classroom, but at the end of the day, there was nothing wrong with them. They just looked different. And yes, it didn't look good, but that didn't mean they needed to be punished or ostracized or hurt. That was painful to see.
That's so selfless, Marcy. One would think when we speak about a personalized barrier, it's one's own, but so selfless of you to still think around what bothered you and burdened you so much. It was the children. Thank you for that, Marcy. Clara, over to you.
Well, Mercy, honestly, your career is nothing short of inspiring. I mean, from building national healthcare companies to championing undeserved patients, being their voice, being their heart, and just pioneering innovation in surgical care. Your dedication to what I would call business excellence and also human impact, I think that truly sets you apart. And with that kind of reach and influence, I imagine people didn't, sometimes see the full picture. So, what's one myth or perhaps a misconception about your work that you would like to clear up today?
Oh gosh, I have to be very honest with you. The misconceptions were all eradicated when I set up Craniofacial Awareness Week, and I had Jesse Jackson and his son um, pioneer this in Washington, D.C., had a huge reception. And I realized that the only way I was going to get around this stigma was to bring someone like Cher, who was so incredible. Um, she she was forever excited about meeting these children. That movie was very, very important to her. And she, when we had the big reception in DC, we also went to the Russian embassy, and they honored us. We had Mrs. Bush and President Bush. We had arranged for the children to go play with Millie the dog and run around the garden. It was so inspiring, and these children loved it so much. But the real coup was that night when we were in DC. We were there for two nights. Cher took all the children and put them in her bedroom with her so that she could spend time with each and every one. And I just thought that was so amazing. She really felt a bond with these children, and you know, it, she she was cracking jokes and making them feel strong. She was each individual child had their moments with
Mm.
her, and then when we testified before Congress, the children talked about what it was like to be them. There wasn't a dry
Wow.
eye in that room full of people, and that's when I knew that I finally got to the right tipping point and the right moment to give them something that they had never had except maybe from their parents. And
And
that's how it that's how it went.
and probably something that they might never have had you not stepped in to be their voice, to champion their cause. I mean, that is amazing. And the fact that you look at what you do from a personal side, there's a personal story here, an anecdote there, the way that you've touched the lives of these children. I mean, that is simply amazing. That for me adds that relatability to the work that you do. So kudos. Well done, Marcy. Well done.
Well, thanks. I have to tell you about one of my patients real quick. So his name is Charles Blankenship. He lives in Hurley, Virginia. And I met Charles. He had surgery with Dr. Edgerton.
Hmm.
And he said to me when he was leaving the hospital, I really want to keep in touch with you because you're so important to me. And I said, well, Charles, of course. I said we can be buddies on the internet and we can communicate as much as we want. And I will tell you, to this day, Charles reaches out to me still every week, these many,
Wow.
many years forward. He sends me pictures, his family sends me pictures, and if he doesn't hear from me every 4 or 5 days, if I haven't answered his email, he gets all nervous and starts trying to figure out is something wrong. I mean, that kind of love and that kind of commitment is unsurpassed. So what I did was I bought him a laptop so that he didn't have to worry about trying to reach me. And I mean, to this day, 3, 4 times a week, I get emails, and he wants to know how I am and what I'm doing. And that, you can't make this stuff up, so to speak.
You can't.
That
You can't indeed.
so
That is such a powerful story, Marcy. Thank you for sharing it. I mean, it really highlights the human side of the work that you do. Beyond the innovation, beyond the leadership, it's moments like that that must be. like incredibly fulfilling for you and a reminder of what you do.
You're right, and because we all have a place in life to make a difference, and I just wanted them to have the opportunity to know that they could make a difference. And the night that we were in DC, Cher took all of the children. There were 15 of them, and she put them all in her room. They stayed up all night talking to each other. How do you thank somebody for that kind of thing? It's amazing.
Mm, it is indeed. It is indeed. Mayuri.
Thank you, Clara. Marcy, this is Mayuri. Lovely to meet you. I just want to say that, you're the voice for so many who couldn't speak because of how society ostracized them. And I think that is incredible, and that empathy is a superpower that we females have. And you've put yours to such amazing use. Like, there's no words to say how you've changed the game in your field. So I want to ask you, what advice would you have for the next generation of female leaders in their field?
Well, I've always been an advocate for women, and that we do have power. We just have to know how to use it. I will tell you a funny story in that we were operating on a child from Australia, and Cher wanted to go to the be in the OR, and so we we went to the OR, and she was cracking jokes with me about my hoop earrings because I always loved to wear hoop earrings, and I was cracking jokes with her about, the young men who were way below, way younger than her that she was dating, and it was hilarious. But at that moment in time, we're watching the gift of this child get a new face, but
Hmm.
it was a celebration. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm sure you have so many stories like that that we could listen to you all day talk about these incredible
No.
stories. I just wanted to know, so if someone was facing a challenge in their field as a female, as we all do in all our industries, what would you say is the most important thing, the most important element that they need to have so that they can power through like you did, like sitting in the office the whole day waiting? What do you think it is that they need to do
It
to pioneer?
Well, it starts with your passion, okay? And and if you believe and you want to totally change the world, change the playing field, you've got to be prepared for ups and downs, and you've got to be able to stay the course. If I hadn't stayed all day and told Bill Samuth, I'm not leaving till I talk to you, none of this would have ever happened. And that's been perhaps my persistence, my inability to allow people to be disenfranchised just because they were different. From that and the work I did with the children and got all that done, my next phase was going into the field of spine and trying to find innovation and support for the horrific problems these people faced in terms of back pain and the fact that they were immobile, they couldn't do what everybody else was doing, and nobody had any real solutions. So, I tried to take each part of my life and put it to work to make a difference, and that happened. And I worked with a number of surgeons all over the world. We pioneered, instead of these major 16 30-hour fusions, we were doing things minimally invasively in an hour and a half, and these patients were not suffering. I mean, some of them couldn't walk. They were, immobilized by their differences. But again, it was a challenge to find a way to make a difference and advocate for those patients. And that's been my life.
So I wanted to maybe get from this that even through the challenges, as you faced so many in your career, it's just a bit about the grit and the resilience and the
Right.
determination to serve something that's bigger than yourself. It's not about you.
Right.
It's about changing the narrative and helping those who cannot help themselves. Would I be correct in saying that?
Absolutely. And it was changing the narrative in a way that made a significant difference. I mean, these patients
Mm,
who were having these long, long surgical procedures with problems with back pain, children with scoliosis and things like that, their life was so hard. They were not mobile. They could hardly walk. I mean, it was a mess. And with innovation, that problem became better. And nowadays, what took 22 hours in an OR to fix scoliosis and help these children be able to walk and everything is now like a minimally invasive procedure that you don't even have to have huge sedation and be in an OR all day. We now have the ability to take care of these patients, with minimally invasive surgery. So those kinds of advances helped me help the patients.
I could listen to you talk about this all day, but I know we are short on time. So thank you so much for sharing that with me. Alex, over to you.
Well, thank you, Mayuri, and thank you, Massey. So it's yeah, first of all, the only thing that comes to my mind is how it takes women like you to really change the world. And I think this is really why we do what we're doing with the show G Spot, and why you're such an excellent guest. Because through the work that you do, you've obviously changed the narrative. Are changing the narrative. You brought in innovation into healthcare, and just the lives that have been impacted by the work you do is super amazing. I think we can go on and on and on about this. What I was thinking was, obviously you mentioned how the next phase of what you were doing was of you going into spine, right?
Right, correct.
And it had me thinking about when you created Spine Mark, right? Your company
Right.
SpineMark.co, and what that G Spot moment, we say the G Spot being that game changing moment, that aha moment, the light bulb moment, when you realize this next level, this next phase was what was so necessary. What was that moment, if you can share that with us?
Well, it started with the moment, was manifested by the work I was doing with spine surgeons, and the patients that were struggling for just being able to walk, much less manage the pain of their conditions. These were not children suffered with scoliosis, and it was a long, long journey for them to finally find a way to have some kind of normal life, because they were having to have repetitive procedures. But as time went on, just like with anything, they evolve, and the surgeons were able to start to look at opportunities instead of 12-hour surgeries in an OR, that maybe there was a better way to do this. And those technologies helped me help those patients get to a place where they could live a normal life, and they weren't suffering with pain, and they could do all the things that other adults and children were able to do. And that was my aha moment, and why I was so committed to it. So minimally invasive surgery, it took the spine community quite some time to adopt the fact that this was the next new frontier in spine, because they were so used to these 12-hour operations and all these sorts of things. But it became another moment. It was like the moment with Cher. This was the moment with them. And once they were able to, swim and play sports and do things like other people do normally, and not have this horrific pain constantly 24 hours a day, that was the achievement, and that was that moment. Now I'm working in the area of what's the next new frontier in medicine, and that's exosomes, and with a physician who is incredibly amazing. His name is Dr. Kevin Pausa. I've known him for 20 plus years, and we've worked together for a very long time. And he came up with a way to actually avoid or not have to have surgery because he's an interventionalist, as you will, pain. And he created a procedure called disseal. And what that means is he believed that 9 out of 10 times many patients had these long surgeries or surgery that they didn't need that. They mainly just had a problem with the discs in their back that were leaking fluid. And what he discovered, and he's patented it over and over and over, is that if you took some fibrin and mixed it also with some exosomes, which were the next new frontier, and treated these patients in a treatment room, 45 minutes, sealed up those discs, they didn't need back surgery anymore. And that was another kind of aha moment for me to be part of that with him. And we're still doing that with him. He's now he's all over the world in Japan and other places in the US, treating patients, and he has 6 clinics, and but no surgery. And these patients do phenomenally. So that's where I am right now in this day and time.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And that is such an amazing journey and work that you've done. And I hope that, and I'm sure that our listeners think you're super amazing, because I know somebody who knows someone who knows someone who obviously has experienced something with their spine, and knows someone who's needed some of the, just some of the surgery and the work that you've done. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick musical break, and we'll come back. Don't go anywhere, everyone. We'll be back. Here is Coffee at Midnight with Liz. We'll be back.
Okay.
Coffee at midnight. No, it's just your eyes. Sit in the silence, taking the quiet. Can I pull you down? Lay here, just shut out whatever they say. Baby, just for today. Flashback, his hand on my neck. Brown eyes, my guy, my love. Mistakes, heartbreak. We say you can't take this love from us. Now it's getting serious. Talking about the real stuff. I don't know what to do. Can't live this life without you. Slow down. Stop trying to figure it out. I don't know what to do. I'm still crazy about you. Flashback, his hand on my neck. Brown eyes, my guy, my love. Mistakes, heartbreak. We say you can't take this love from us. Flashback, his hand on my neck. Brown eyes, my this love from us. Now we're sitting in your car and I wonder where we are. Why did we come this far just to give up? You were everything I need and now I'm struggling to breathe. Why did we have to fall? This far just to give up. You were everything I need and now I'm struggling to breathe. Oh, why did we have to fall in love? Flashback, my head on his chest. He's wearing that shirt I love. Regret that day when we said you can't take this love from us. midnight. No love in your eyes. Can't take the quiet. Sit in the silence.
Yes, and that was Coffee at Midnight by Luz. Wherever you are listening from around the world, this is still the G Spot on G Women Radio. And yes, it's that 1 hour of Genius conversation with global game changers, and we're so excited. We've been having an exciting conversation with our very special guest, Marcy Rogers, who's joining us live here from the United States. But just before we get onto our next segment, which is the G Talk Roundtable, and I'm just gonna say, Frankie, are you here with us? Are you here?
I am here with you.
Okay,
Yes,
take it away, Frankie.
All right. Well, thank you so much. As Alex said, it is our roundtable moment, and today's theme is leading loudly: the rise of unapologetic leadership in boardrooms, governments, and grassroots movements. And we are thrilled to welcome, as we've heard, a game changer who is really blazing trails in their field. Marcy, I think it's fair to say it takes a lot of chutzpah as a woman who's not a doctor to walk in front of a medical community, advise them on new methodologies, and set up trials. You have garnered so much respect and established yourself as a key opinion leader in specialty fields in the centers of excellence in spine, orthopedic surgery, neurosurgery, interventional pain, plastic surgery. I mean, these doctors and people are among your clients, your best clients. So under your leadership, these centers and SROs had record-breaking new patient referrals, as well as participating in 25 or more U.S. FDA device, drug, and biological clinic trials. And I know about a few of them, and they're pretty amazing. How do women, or how did you gain the respect of men so that they follow your lead? That's part one. And part two is, what traits or attributes did you use, and what do you see women doing wrong?
Well, and this is the challenge. I have to be honest with you, because, in the world of men versus women making differences, there's always a quid pro quo here, in that I had to be able to deal with the ego side of things. And male egos can be very challenging. I was married to a world famous plastic surgeon, and it's a delicate balance. And I will tell you a funny story. I was doing an interview with Ken, my now deceased husband, and with a reporter. And I said, well, the reporter asked us, well, what do you and Dr. Salyer do that, gives you pleasure? And so I said, well, Ken and I enjoy, hiking. We do, you know, traveling, all of that. And when I came out of the interview with Ken, I said, well, that went really well. And he said, he was mad. And I said, why are you mad? He said, I can't believe you called me Ken on air. And I said, okay.
You forgot the doctor.
Right. I forgot the doctor. And I just, at that moment in time, I thought, this is just kind of really weird. And I said to him, well, Ken, we're married. I'm your wife. I mean, he was furious. And I just,
That's
so
hilarious.
yeah. And I said to him, you get more with being humble than you do being a narcissist. And he didn't like that either, but that's okay.
So what do you think? What is it about you, Marcy? What is it about? And you guys can all jump in, in a minute. But what is it about you, particularly, that sets you apart from other women, maybe, that can go into boardrooms and wait for people and just change their mind and find these amazing devices and different drugs and biological clinics? What is it about you that makes them believe in you, to follow you, to say, yeah, okay, I kind of believe you. I'll work with you on this.
Well, I think, and I don't think I'm anything unique or special, but I am passionate and persistent. So if you don't adopt what I'm trying to tell you to do the first time, I have no hesitation of going back and trying to, rebuild the venue, retell the story. Because at the end of the day, it's not for me, it's not for them, it's for the patients.
Right. So persistence, tenacity, and passion.
Right. You have to have I learned to have a thick skin, and you have to be able to understand that you're not here for your benefit. This is here for the patient's benefit. And sometimes that all gets mixed up because of, ego. And, some of these physicians spent, what, 20, 30 years of their life just to do all of this. So you have to walk a delicate balance. But, um, and if you believe in what you're doing, you don't have any problems in terms of continuing, whether they like it or not. There's a way, there's a soft touch, there's a way to get, you know, coherence and acceptance without having to beat them up. And that's the delicate balance you work with when you're dealing with these highly trained individuals who spent, what, 20 some odd plus years of their life in training. Um, you have to acknowledge them and get the best out of them without letting the worst get in the way.
I'm going to let my colleagues jump in here, but the last thing I want to ask you, are you using your femininity as your superpower in the boardroom?
Yes.
How so?
Well, because, your femininity is also in the boardroom what makes people want to be drawn to you. It's my femininity, but it's also my passion. And I've dealt with a lot of physicians, and they're not easy, and especially surgeons, because they've spent, what, 23 or 24 or 25 years of their life in training before they actually get to do anything. So you really just have to work that balance of being an advocate for them as well as the patient. You don't want to challenge them, you don't want to beat them up, you don't want to give them a hard time, because at the end of the day, they're people too. And so that's how I navigated all this all these years. And every time I get into a new field, I got to redo it all over again. But it's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. I think you're a pioneer for sure, and the women who are coming after really have you to thank for opening some doors. Anybody from our co-founders here want to say anything?
Well, I was just listening to your questions, Frankie, and what Marcy was saying, and and immediately she started talking about. I was like, yes, she's definitely using her femininity, because you mentioned stuff. You used the word. I remember when you were making a reference to your ex, husband. You said the word humble, right? And he's the ego of the role and the work that he's doing. And you're not remembering to put the doctor in front of it. And you said, you get a lot from being humble. But then you also talked about the soft touch, right? That heart-centered soft touch and finding that delicate balance. And I believe that it's just sort of connect. Of course, you talked about passion, but when you put all that, the combination of all of that, you being heart-centered, you being passionate about making a difference, you obviously applying that soft touch and finding that balance and trying to not only manage the outcome for those patients, but also managing these doctors and being an advocate for them as well, right? Rooting for them. Sure. And trying to get them to also get the outcome for the patients. I think that's something that that's only something a woman really would do. You know what I mean? Just being in that sweet spot where what the outcome what you want the outcome to be, and you understanding how to bring that element. And that's what we women do very well, managing the home, managing our work, managing people, still getting to meet to make something happen while trying to make sure that the relationships, our ambition, and all of that align in a sweet spot. So I thought that was very I thought that stood out for me, actually. That definitely came to mind, especially being that you're not a doctor yourself, and to get these people to work with you required you tapping into a side of yourself that may not necessarily be something that a lot of people are able to produce. So I mean that stood out for me. Just wanted to say that.
No,
Thank
I
you.
agree. It's, you learn to how to get the best out of people without the worst getting in the way. And
Mhm.
and that's, that allows you to get into a space that you're non-confrontational. You're just there to help, and that's okay.
Right. And I'm sure many of us in different ways. I don't know if any of our, the other co-hosts have experienced something like that. Maybe Swapna or Clara, being in a situation that we all get to work, um, you know, with other people, obviously. And we have to find that spot where, like you said, be non-confrontational and just be focusing on what the actual outcome will be so that we can get it. Now, in case, wherever you are listening to this, if you're in our chat room, don't forget that you can leave questions, comments, whatever you have. If you have questions for Marcy, please share it in the chat room. If you're listening on chat.gwomanradio.com, or you're on our official website at gwomanradio.com, or you're listening on live.gwomanradio.com, wherever you're listening, really. If you have contributions and you want to ask Marcy your question, please leave it in the chat room. And of course, one of our hosts will make sure that your questions get to her. So, Swapna, are you here? Oh, Frankie,
Yes,
go
I
ahead.
am.
No, it's okay. Swapna, go ahead, please.
Frankie, thank you. I asked this before, but not really. Marcy, I'm very curious to know if it's not too weird to ask, how old will you have been when you had this awakening that you should do this? Because we wonder when we see women like you, what is it that makes women like you who you become? You are one of a kind. uh, what it's not a certain education. What is it, so how old were you, Marcy, when you had this? Because it's just incredible that you've gotten into a field which you are not particularly educated in, but you were just a business person, an entrepreneur, a philanthropist at that, and just broke ground where you are. Is it okay to ask how young were you?
Oh, I don't mind telling you that at all. I mean, I was in my late 20s, um,
Wow. Wow.
and and
Gosh.
uh, and but it was because that was because what inspired me were these children. I was the patient care coordinator for Dr. Edgerton and the Craniofacial Institute he set up at the University of Virginia. So that meant, I was walking down the aisle with these patients to the OR,
Right.
and there when they finished surgery, and then working them through and helping them get recovered to be able to go home. But that made my life. That made me
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
that I was making a difference. And my whole
So,
life has been a series of that.
yeah, yeah, Marcy. So you were already in this environment, if you will, right? You were already in this medical environment
Right.
when this happened.
I w-
Lovely, lovely. Thanks so much for sharing that. Because it was just amazing to think someone in her late 20s could have this huge G moment. And hats off to you, seriously. Amazing. Absolutely.
well, there was a
Oh, Frankie.
need.
Yeah, yeah, sorry. Yeah, yeah, gotcha. Lovely.
Yeah.
Frankie, over to you, please. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if I was a listener and I didn't know Marcy, I would be thinking to myself, what makes somebody in their late 20s even be able to reach out to the White House and organize a dinner or a festive occasion, bringing people with me? What makes somebody, young or even old, it doesn't really matter, but what makes a woman have that kind of confidence to be able to sit and fly to some guy's office and sit there all day? Like, where does that come from? Is it something you were born with? Is it something innate to you, or is it something that you learned from somebody? Because everybody could probably do it, but they're probably thinking, I could never do it. So what's the secret sauce?
Well, the secret sauce is you're not doing this for yourself. You're doing this for a human being, so to speak, okay? And for me, I was not going to allow these children to continue to be traumatized because they look different, but they were
Right.
still children. So, what's the stigma here, and why? And they suffered so much that it was heartbreaking. And so I could not stand that moment for them. And so it
But
didn't
have you
matter how
always been an
I felt.
advocate, Marcy? Have you always been an advocate? Like you see puppies and you save them. Like, are you this Joan of Arc archetype, or was it this particular, you're in that allowed you to get out away from yourself even and say, you know what, I'm going to do something about this. I don't like this at all, and
Well,
then
that's
off you
way
go.
that's that's me. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Yeah.
young, it's been me my entire life. If I feel that something is not is unjust, and somebody's being traumatized, I try and fix it. I'm a fixer. I'm a pioneer. I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm somebody that believes that life is better when you're doing things to help people, no matter what it takes.
Very true. Clara.
Wow.
Honestly, there's so much to take away from this conversation. I mean, Marcy, you were only in your 20s and you were so strong willed and so intentional about wanting to make a difference. You truly, truly are a gifted, genius, game changing woman. So, to our audience, here's what I'm going to say. If you're tuned in with us, we'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to drop your questions in the chat, or if you would like to ask a question online live, let us know. Don't hesitate. We'd love to hear from you. Mayuri?
Actually, Clara, we have two questions from our listeners that want to pick Marcy's brain. So the first question, Marcy, is you've helped create major awareness campaigns like National Craniofacial Awareness Week. How can everyday people, those of us listening right now, get involved or support this cause?
Well, there's the foundation that I created, the Craniofacial Foundation. Cher is still the president of the board and is still heavily involved. And so, that foundation that I created still exists. So it's there and it's still helping people, and she's still involved. And I think that that was the greatest gift I could give that moment in time to those people and those patients.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Marcy. And now a little bit of a more personal question. For parents that are facing a new diagnosis for their child or loved one, what kind of advice or reassurance would you share based on your years of experience advocating for craniofacial care?
Well, there's always the good news is that what we did, in the early days and what we do now are so completely different. There's no more these 16 or 23-hour operations when it began. And now it's a matter of it's been simplified and created so that it's 2 to 3 hours. That's a huge difference, but that's advanced in the treatment. And the same thing has evolved with spine. We were doing huge 20-hour operations for scoliosis. Now we don't have to do that. We can do minimally invasive surgery that's 1 to 2 hours, and they get a phenomenal result and they get a much quicker recovery. So that's where I've always advocated is what can we do to make it better, whether it's craniofacial or spine or neurosurgery or orthopedics. I'm always looking for the way that we can make it more powerful and better results, but less wear and tear on the patient. So that's what we worked on, and that's what we've been doing, and we're still doing. Now we're getting into a space of regenerative medicine. People don't haven't even heard what regenerative medicine is, but that's the next new frontier. The frontier of not even having to have a surgery, but a procedure in a treatment room that mitigates the conditions in their back and takes away the pain without a surgical procedure. And I'm a big advocate for that right now and trying to advance that as my next big challenge and frontier with Dr. Paza. I've been working with him for 20 plus years.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Marcy. What I'm getting from that is that there's always hope, and it doesn't have to be as painful as it was because of you and all the pioneering that you've done. Alex, over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Mayuri, and thank you, Massey, for just the incredible, stories, anecdotes, and all the insights that you shared on today's episode of our show. We're about to wrap this up now. We've got 3 minutes left, and it's the mic drop. I would say my takeaway from the conversation that you've had today, you talked about passion and persistence, and that is obviously has been a major contributor to how you've impacted the world. I'm going to ask my other co-host what their mic drop moment is. Swapna, Frankie, are you ready?
I am.
Alex,
go ahead.
I'll go after. Thanks, Frankie. Alex, my mic drop moment was exactly what you said, but I'll add, it seems like Marcy will not take no for an answer, and that's brilliant. That's simply brilliant. Over to you, Frankie.
When you work with men, there's always a quid pro quo.
Right. Absolutely. We pay homage just to get what we want. Right.
Yeah.
Clara?
I'm inspired, seriously inspired. So my mic drop moment is the fact that if today's conversation reminds me of anything, it is that leadership with heart and innovation with purpose can truly change lives. So thank you, Massey, for showing us what it looks like to actually lead with both.
Mayuri?
Right.
Thank you so much, Marcy. My mic drop moment is that when you serve something bigger than yourself, that is the way forward. That is how we create change, how we change the narrative, and how we make real lasting change for others. It's to serve others before ourselves. So thank you for that.
Indeed.
Oh,
Well,
it's my-
thank you. Thank you, Massey.
Thank you.
Well, thank you to our listeners, those of you listening to our show. Don't forget that you can follow us online at GWomen Media and tag us in your thoughts with hashtag GSpotRadio. Now, of course, you can catch the replay of this conversation with Massey wherever you get your podcasts or on our station. Until next time, stay genius, stay game changing.
Changing.
That's right.